She nursed him with his ego. He nursed her back to life.
Tina decided to go her own way. That's why you don't see it right here. But she want to go do something else, that's fine with me. We had our run.
30 years, a stroke, an amputation, 3 sons in the NBA, and she still left.
The process, like I said, first they cut off a couple of toes. Then they cut off my foot. Then they said we got to go almost knee high for another surgery.
And just when you thought you understood this story,
My first thought was, this sounds like the typical it came out of nowhere story that men often tell after a woman has left them.
because here's what nobody is connecting. Tina Ball didn't just quietly walk away. The women who know her story are starting to talk. And what they're saying, it doesn't just explain the divorce. It exposes a side of LaVar Ball that 30 years of cameras never caught. Stay with me, because this goes so much deeper than a breakup. Let's set the scene, because if you don't know the full picture, you cannot understand why this divorce is hitting the way that it is. LaVar Ball is not just a basketball dad. He is arguably one of the most effective and most controversial fathers in the history of American sports. We are talking about a man who played college basketball, played college football, had a brief stint in the NFL, and then redirected every ounce of that athletic obsession into his 3 sons: Lonzo Ball, LiAngelo Ball, LaMelo Ball. 1, 2, 3. All 3 in the NBA. Do you understand how statistically improbable that is? The odds of one child making it to the NBA are already astronomical. This man did it 3 times, and he did it loudly, publicly, unapologetically.
I mean, they have a whole brand, right? The Ball family brand, with Lonzo becoming number 2 pick for the Lakers, LaMelo becoming Rookie of the Year and NBA All-Star.
The Big Baller brand, the TV show, the ESPN controversy, the endless press conferences where LaVar Ball said things that made your jaw drop and your head shake, but you couldn't look away. This man was the spectacle. He was the engine. He was the brand. And standing right beside him, mostly off camera, mostly quiet, mostly in the background, was Tina Ball. Now, here's where the story starts to shift, because in every highlight reel of this family, in every viral clip of LaVar coaching his boys at 5 in the morning, in every moment of celebration when LaMelo hit an all-star buzzer beater, Tina was there. Present, supporting, sacrificing.
What was Tina's parenting style?
I would say she got us very smart. I was gonna say that too. Education-wise, Very smart. anytime you need help, don't go to big fella, go to her.
She was the academic backbone of that household. While LaVar was on ESPN getting fired, she was at home making sure those boys could spell, read, and think. While LaVar was at press conferences talking about how his son was better than Steph Curry, and yes, he really said that Tina was at home making sure the foundation held for 30 years. And nobody was asking what that cost her. In 2019, Tina Ball suffered a stroke. Let that land for a second. A stroke. One of the most medically serious, life-altering events a human body can go through. Facial drooping, slurred speech, temporary memory loss, motor function impairment, your whole identity just gone in an instant. And where was LaVar? Right there, every single day.
I'd rather you be broken down like this and spend all the time with me than being healthy as heck and have to work every day and you don't get whatever you want. The best thing for Tina when she first started, I said, you ain't gonna do nothing but get better. You ain't got nothing but time. You're gonna always be with me, I'm gonna be with you. So don't feel bad about yourself. You move slow, but this right here, you fine.
Now look, I need you to sit with that for a moment. This is not a man who dropped off a casserole and went back to his podcast. This is a man who became her physical therapist, her coach, her motivator, her mirror.
I know how to rehab with Tina. It's not the soft stuff that people have been doing with her. She's an athlete. She needs rehab, which is a little more intense. Faster, higher. There you go. 5 more.
The internet absolutely lost it over this. Women were in the comments calling LaVar a king. Men were holding him up as the gold standard of loyalty. He became the symbol of what a husband should be. And honestly, in those moments, watching those clips back then, the praise was warranted. But here's where I need you to start paying attention to a detail that most people glossed over. LaVar Ball is a man who coached his sons the same way he coached his wife through her stroke. High intensity, no softness. Push past the limit. Do more. Go faster. You can do it. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. For a basketball player, that works. For a woman recovering from a near-fatal medical emergency who just wants her husband to sit beside her and hold her hand, that's a different conversation entirely.
If a man could talk to you like this in front of people on live stream, I can only imagine how he talks to you when it's just the 2 of you alone.
I'm not saying LaVar was wrong for being intense. I'm saying, what if Tina experienced that intensity not just during rehab, but for 30 years, every single day? What does love feel like when it's delivered at the same frequency as a 5 a.m. basketball drill? That's the question nobody was asking back when everyone was praising him. And that's exactly the question Tina Ball apparently had to answer for herself. Fast forward to 2025, LaVar Ball, the big man himself, is sitting in a hospital, and the doctors are not delivering good news. Diabetes had been quietly doing its work, and now the bill was due.
The process, like I said, first they cut off a couple of toes. Then they cut off my foot. Then they said we got to go almost knee high for another surgery. I'm just like, these surgeries, this is too many. Make you think like, man, this killed me.
Now think about the timeline here. Tina has a stroke. LaVar stays. LaVar loses his leg. Tina leaves. And according to multiple sources, the separation had actually been building for nearly 2 years before it went public. Which means, and this is important, Tina was already mentally and emotionally out of this marriage while LaVar was still in surgery. Let that sink in.
This man stayed with this woman after she had a stroke. Do you know what happens when you have a stroke? Temporary memory loss, you slurring, face is droopy, you don't look the same, your appearance changes. He said he still thought she was beautiful. Every day she was trying to come back and recover. Yet, this man loses his leg. And not instantly, but eventually she up and decided to get a divorce.
Now here's where the story gets complicated, because in the immediate aftermath when LaVar went on Neon's stream and casually dropped this bombshell on the world, people were looking for a villain. And the internet did what the internet does. Half the comment section crowned LaVar as a martyr, a loyal king abandoned by an ungrateful woman. The other half, they weren't buying it, not even a little bit.
All I gotta say is no one really leaves anyone that treats them well and makes them feel good. I don't really comment on people's relationships. We don't know what really goes on, and people can make things look really good. Usually the ones stuck in their feelings are the ones who've done wrong.
And look, I hear that. I genuinely do. Because none of us were in that house. None of us know what happened behind closed doors over 30 years. But here's what I also know. Women don't always leave because a man is beating them. Sometimes they leave because they've been quietly disappearing inside a marriage for so long that by the time the kids are gone and the noise dies down, they don't recognize themselves anymore. And that is exactly the rumor that's starting to surface around Tina Ball. Here is the core of what we need to talk about. The rumor, and I want to be clear that at this stage, this is what's circulating in the conversation. What women close to this story are starting to say is that Tina Ball's decision to leave was not sudden. It was not impulsive. It was not the result of some social media video telling her to be free. According to what's being whispered in these circles, Tina Ball had a moment of clarity after her stroke that LaVar has never fully acknowledged publicly. When you nearly die, when your brain is misfiring, when your body is betraying you, when you are at your absolute most vulnerable, you see people as they truly are. The masks come off, the performances stop, you see who shows up, and more importantly, you see how they show up. LaVar showed up, we all saw that. But reportedly, Tina saw something else too. She saw a man who showed up on his terms, at his pace, with his methods, who turned her medical rehabilitation into a training camp, who coached her recovery the same way he coached LaMelo's free throws, with results as the only acceptable outcome. And for some women, that's love. But for Tina Ball, after 30 years of watching this man make every room about him, every camera about him, every narrative about him, her stroke became yet another chapter in the LaVar Ball story. Not the Tina Ball story, his.
Meanwhile, a woman that he was married to will sacrifice her family for her happiness. You give a woman like this the world and she's still gonna want the moon, baby.
Now I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, okay, but she left him when he lost his leg. How do you justify that? And I'm not here to justify it. I'm here to explain it. Because the version of Tina that walked away from LaVar in 2025 was not the same woman who married him in 1997. She had been through a stroke. She had come out on the other side. She had, by all accounts, done the emotional and spiritual inventory that near-death forces you to do. And whatever she found at the bottom of that inventory, it told her to go.
I was in a relationship for 10 years and decided to leave that relationship because he was no longer the man of my dreams. He was a good boyfriend and he never cheated on me, and we were good to each other, but when it came to alignment and what I deserved and what I wanted and saw for myself and my future kids, I wanted to give my kids the best possible father I could, as well as like the best possible life I could give them, and love is not enough for that.
Love is not enough for that. 4 words that I think Tina Ball has been carrying quietly for years. LaVar loved her. Nobody disputes that. The man stayed through the stroke. He did the rehab with her. He told her she was beautiful even when she couldn't walk properly. That is real love. But love and compatibility are 2 different things. Love and emotional safety are 2 different things. Love and being truly seen as a woman, as a person, not just as the mother of 3 NBA sons and the wife of a brand, those are 2 very different things.
I just cannot believe that a woman would leave a man after he took care of her through her darkest hours. Like, a stroke is a big deal, you know, and even with that, I hear women say, oh, well, you know, I just can't help but to think about what kind of stress this man was putting her under in order for her to even have a stroke. So now the woman having a stroke is the man's fault.
And here's the thing, I'm not saying stress caused her stroke. That's a medical conversation we are not qualified to have. But I will say this, 30 years beside LaVar Ball, a man who is relentlessly intense, publicly dominant, and emotionally structured around performance and results is not a soft life. It is not a quiet life. It is a life that demands you show up, produce, push through, and keep going, which is exactly what Tina did for 3 decades, until she decided she was done pushing through. Now here's where the emotional temperature of this story shifts again, because on that Neon stream, LaVar Ball, the man who once told the world his son was better than Michael Jordan, sat there and said something that hit differently than anything he's ever said publicly.
So even though she had the stroke and getting older, she would never be like, oh man, she was always beautiful in my eyes until you say, I want to go do something else. Yeah. Now you're not as beautiful to me again.
Now on the surface, that sounds cold, petty even, like he's withdrawing love as punishment. But listen to it again. That's not pettiness. That's heartbreak trying to sound like confidence. That is a 60-something-year-old man who spent 30 years loving one woman, watching her through a medical crisis, losing part of his own body to disease, and then having that woman walk out the door, and the only way he knows how to process it publicly is to turn it into a teachable moment for a younger man on a streaming show. Because LaVar Ball does not break down. LaVar Ball finds a lesson.
From what my boys is doing, and Dad, you the toughest dude I know, and this and that, it make you go. Even though I'm a bad man and I don't need much, it's good to have that backing.
And then, almost casually, he mentioned there's someone new. Now, the internet immediately went to that new woman. And there is a clip which has since been shared widely of LaVar speaking to his new girlfriend in a tone that some people found alarming.
What I tell you, we good. It takes so long. That's all you do, fast. Fast on that.
And look, I want to be fair here because context matters. Is that a dismissive tone? Yes. Is it grounds for 30 years of marriage to be reframed as abuse? Absolutely not. But here's what it does do. It gives us a window into how LaVar Ball communicates when the cameras aren't framed perfectly. And for some of the women watching Tina's story from the outside, that window confirmed exactly what they suspected. That being LaVar Ball's wife was probably never a gentle experience. Not because he's a monster, but because greatness, real, relentless, obsessive greatness, is not a soft thing to live next to. The moment this story went public, the internet split right down the middle. And the split wasn't just along gender lines, it was along philosophical lines. What do we owe each other in marriage? What does loyalty actually mean? And who gets to decide when enough is enough? On one side, the men, and a lot of women too, who looked at LaVar's track record and said, this man did everything right. He stayed, he pushed, he built, he sacrificed, and she left him at his worst.
Where is the sisterhood on this? They always say men leave when things get hard. This man stayed by her side through her health crisis. You know, they say that. However, women initiate divorce way more often than men do. He never left her. Then he suffered a life-changing amputation, and she's already talking about going to do something more fun. If the roles were reversed, people would be outraged.
And that argument, it's not wrong. If LaVar had filed for divorce the week Tina came home from the hospital after her stroke, the internet would have destroyed him. His son's brands would have taken hits. His legacy would have been permanently stained. The double standard is real, and it deserves to be acknowledged. But on the other side of that coin, and she's not entirely wrong either, we don't know. We genuinely do not know. We know the LaVar Ball that existed in front of cameras. We know the highlights. We know the rehab clips. We know the press conferences and the bravado and the love that he wore publicly like a medal. But the 30 years that Tina Ball lived through, the arguments nobody filmed, the moments where she needed emotional support and got a drill sergeant instead, the years of her identity being absorbed into the Ball family machine, we don't have footage of that.
Let's be abundantly clear. No man is going to talk to me like that. However, can we be real enough to go into the different levels and the layers to the conversation? If a woman is not going to tolerate certain things, she leaves very early on. Do you understand me with that?
And that point that it doesn't take 30 years is worth sitting with. If LaVar was truly unbearable, Tina would have been gone in year 5. The fact that she stayed for 3 decades, built a dynasty with him, raised 3 sons, survived a stroke, watched him survive an amputation, and then left, that's not a woman who just found out her husband was bad. That's a woman who spent 30 years trying to make it work, ran completely out of road, and finally, maybe for the first time, chose herself. Is that beautiful or is that brutal? Honestly, it might be both. This story is not just about LaVar, LaVar and Tina Ball. Let's be real about that. This story touched a nerve because it represents something millions of men and millions of women are quietly terrified of. For men, the fear that no matter how much you sacrifice, how much you provide, how much you stay, it might not be enough. That the woman you built your life around might wake up one morning and decide the life you built together isn't the life she wants anymore.
But none of that guarantees loyalty, even if you have a ring on her finger. And that is the sad truth about what this life is.
And that fear, it's legitimate. It's not paranoia. It's pattern recognition. Because LaVar Ball is not the first man this has happened to. He won't be the last. But here's the flip side of that conversation for women. The fear that you can disappear completely inside a marriage. That you can give 30 years, your body, your identity, your youth, and still be defined only by the man you're standing next to. That when you finally decide to reclaim yourself, the entire world will call you ungrateful. And LaVar himself almost accidentally confirmed this dynamic when he was giving neon relationship advice. He's warning a 20-something man about the danger of giving a woman everything, while simultaneously being the man who gave a woman everything and she still left. That irony is not lost on anyone, and I don't think it's lost on LaVar either, because the way he said those words with that particular exhaustion, that particular knowing that's not a man reading from a textbook,